If you've ever stared at a massive pile of autumn leaves and thought, there has to be a faster way, then you're in exactly the right place. Here on Soil and Harvest, we're always digging into the methods that actually work in real gardens, not just the textbook theories. And today, I'm pulling back the curtain on one of the most underrated composting tricks I've stumbled across in years of working the soil. A simple liquid activator that can turn a stubborn, slow pile of leaves into rich, crumbly compost in a matter of days rather than months. I know what you're thinking. That sounds too good to be true, but stay with me because this isn't garden magic, it's garden science, and once you understand why it works, you'll never look at a pile of leaves the same way again. Before we talk about the solution, let's talk about the problem. Leaves are notoriously slow composters. You've probably experienced this yourself. You rake up a gorgeous pile in October, tuck it into your compost bin, and by the following spring, you've got something that looks more like a mat of paper than usable compost. That's frustrating, especially when you're trying to feed hungry garden beds. The reason leaves break down so slowly comes down to their chemistry. Most leaves are high in carbon and lignin, a tough, structural compound that makes them rigid and durable. Lignin is essentially nature's way of protecting leaves, and it does its job a little too well even after the leaf has fallen. On top of that, a pile of dry leaves has very little microbial activity because there's not enough nitrogen, moisture, or biological life present to really get the decomposition process roaring. Without the right conditions, the microbes that break down organic matter simply go quiet. The good news? You can wake them up, fast. The liquid I'm talking about isn't some expensive commercial product or a secret formula locked away in a garden center backroom. It's something you can make at home or source incredibly cheaply, and it works by flooding your leaf pile with exactly what it's missing: nitrogen, microbial life, and moisture, all at once. The most effective version of this activator is a diluted comfrey or nettle liquid fertilizer, sometimes combined with a splash of unsulfured molasses and diluted urine. I know that's isn't sticomyten sa cancerdrad, salti, nor den stunsten, sa mykuper my kun sa mine in nine. My ganshirker might sure raise an eyebrow. But hear me out, because gardeners have been using this combination for generations, and modern soil science completely backs it up. Here's how each component pulls its weight. Comfrey liquid, made by soaking comfrey leaves in water for a week or two, is extraordinarily high in nitrogen and potassium. It essentially gives the microbes in your leaf pile a protein-rich meal that sends their population into overdrive. Nettle liquid works similarly and is packed with iron and other trace minerals that support microbial health. Molasses provides simple sugars that feed soil bacteria directly, giving them a quick energy boost that accelerates the entire decomposition chain. And diluted urine, at a ratio of about 1 part urine to 10 parts water, is one of the most concentrated bioavailable sources of nitrogen you can find. Nitrogen is the single biggest limiting factor in leaf decomposition, and urine delivers it immediately. Together, these ingredients create a liquid activator that essentially hacks the composting process, creating ideal conditions for rapid biological breakdown. Making this at home is genuinely simple, and it costs almost nothing if you already grow comfrey or nettles in your garden, which, if you don't, I'd strongly encourage you to start. Both are powerhouse plants for any composting or permaculture setup. To make your activator, fill a bucket about 1/3 full with fresh comfrey or nettle leaves, or a combination of both. Cover with water and let it steep for 10 to 14 days, stirring every couple of days. The smell will be strong, fair warning. But that pungent odor is actually a sign that the liquid is doing its job. Once it's ready, dilute it at a ratio of about 1 part liquid to 10 parts water. If you want to supercharge it further, stir in 1 tablespoon of unsulfured blackstrap molasses per gallon of diluted liquid. This feeds the bacteria directly and makes a noticeable difference in how fast your pile heats up. If you're comfortable adding diluted urine, mix it in at the same 1:10 ratio and add it to your activator before application. Once your liquid is ready, you're going to drench your leaf pile thoroughly with it. Don't be stingy. You want the liquid to penetrate all the way through the pile, not just wet the surface. If you have a large pile, layer it as you build it, watering each layer generously with the activator as you go. Once your activator hits that leaf pile, something incredible starts to happen within 24 to 48 hours. The microbial population in the pile begins to explode. Bacteria multiply rapidly when they have a food source, warmth, moisture, and nitrogen all available at once. As their populations surge, they begin producing heat as a byproduct of their metabolic activity. If you've ever reached into the middle of an active compost pile and felt that deep warmth radiating from the center, that's microbial respiration at work. With a well-activated leaf pile, temperatures in the core can reach between 130 and 160 degrees Fahrenheit within just a few days. At these temperatures, lignin breaks down far more rapidly, fungal activity increases dramatically, and even weed seeds and pathogens are killed off. The structure of the leaves literally begins to collapse as the microbes digest the cellular material. Within a week, you'll notice that your pile has shrunk considerably and the leaves are beginning to look dark, soft, and fragmented. Within 2 to 3 weeks, with regular turning and a second application of Activator, you can have material that is genuinely close to finished compost, a far cry from the year-long wait that most people experience with untreated leaf piles. There are a few things that will make or break your results, and I want to make sure you get this right the first time. Moisture is absolutely critical. Your pile should feel like a wrung-out sponge, damp throughout, but not dripping or waterlogged. If your pile dries out, microbial activity will stall regardless of how good your activator is. Turning the pile is equally important. Every 2 to 3 days, flip the pile so that the outer material moves to the center, and vice versa. This reintroduces oxygen, which the aerobic bacteria that drive hot composting absolutely need. Each time you turn it, give it another light application of your activator diluted with plain water to maintain moisture and top up the microbial food supply. If you have access to any fresh green material, grass clippings, kitchen scraps, fresh weeds, layer these into your pile as you turn it. The extra nitrogen content will keep the biological engine running hot. A carbon-to-nitrogen ratio of roughly 25 to 1 to 30 to 1 is the sweet spot for rapid decomposition, and dry leaves alone can be as high as 60 to 1 or more, which is why the nitrogen boost from your liquid activator is so transformative. Once your leaf material has fully broken down into that dark, earthy, crumbly material we all love, it's ready to use in some of the most valuable ways possible. Leaf compost, sometimes called leaf mold, is exceptional for improving soil structure, especially in heavy clay soils or sandy soils that drain too quickly. It acts like a biological sponge, improving water retention while also improving drainage and aeration simultaneously. Spread a generous layer across your vegetable beds before planting, work it into potting mixes, or use it as a top dressing around perennials and trees. Your soil life will thank you in ways that show up directly in plant health, yield, and resilience. There are few free resources in the garden more valuable than a pile of autumn leaves transformed by this process. If this gave you a new perspective on what's possible with something as simple as fallen leaves and a homemade liquid, I'd love for you to share it with a fellow gardener who's been frustrated by slow compost, and if you haven't already subscribed to Soil and Harvest on YouTube, now is a great time to join our community. We're sharing real, tested gardening knowledge every week, the kind of practical, down-to-earth content that actually makes a difference in your garden. Hit subscribe, leave a comment, telling me what you're composting this season, and let's keep growing together.